Today on Hashtag Lawyered, we're checking in with some bars and restaurants here in Dallas to see how they're doing coming post-COVID. First, we've got Chef Uno. She's the brilliant mind behind Red Stix here in Dallas. And then we've also got Gabe Sanchez, the owner and head bartender of the Black Swan Saloon down in Deep Ellum.
Welcome back to Hashtag Lawyer Doll. Austin is here in the studio with me.
We are.
And Chef Uno, I'm so excited. It's Skyping in. She is the, like Austin said, a brilliant mind behind Red Stix, which is my literal favorite Asian food restaurant here in Dallas. So Chef Uno, we are so excited to have you on today. Thank you for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Chef Uno, let's dive into this a little bit. Can you pimp out Red Stix? Describe the restaurant, the brand, the amazingness that is Red Stix for our audience.
Thank you. I love pimping out Red Stix. The hustle is so real these days. Red Stix is an Asian street food place. It's really inspired by my childhood. We would go back to Thailand in the summers, and we'd walk on the streets, and they would have these meat on skewers. And I wanted to capture the taste, the smell, the scent of all of it into my four walls. And so I created Red Stix Asian street food, and have kind of, the menu's evolved a little bit since the pandemic has occurred. I said I'm saying yes to a lot more things than I've done in the past, and kind of reinvented ourselves as well. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, a fun journey. You're such an optimist. But, let me ask you a question, Chef Uno. So when did you actually first open Red Stix here?
We opened Red Stix right before COVID happened. So December 21st was our official open day, but we had actually did a proof of concept up at Legacy Hall for a year and a half until we found our permanent space home in University Park. And so I just want to make sure the recipes worked, that people actually wanted this kind of food.
Right.
And so we found our spot. I barely opened by the end of the year. And then we were on a great trajectory as the students were getting to know who we are, the faculty from SMU, because they're right across from the law library. And I remember the day, it was March 13th, the week of March 13th, that things kind of started slowing down a little bit. It's like, what's going on, right? And we knew that COVID was happening and there might be a potential shelter in place. I just didn't know how hard we're going to be hit and for the duration that we've been hit. I was like, maybe it'll go for like 30 days, 60 days. Here we are, like almost 5 months into this, and there is no end in sight.
I mean, COVID came in hot like a frickin' wrecking ball. Not to be Miley Cyrus, but
Right.
Oh, gosh.
Well, and I mean, what was going through your mind whenever all these orders from the governor came in and shelter in place? I mean, what were you thinking as this was going on?
I think that any entrepreneur, when you think about how do you stay essential, how do you stay afloat, how do you keep the lights on, right? And I had my employees to think of, and we had to pivot really quickly, and I had to think about making up the difference in the business that was lost. And of course, the stimulus package helped. The PPP money was great, but it only lasted 2 months, right? I mean, like when you're going through and you're still having employees there and you still have cost of goods and rent to pay, there had to be a way to subsidize that. And so I started out doing what was called quarantine cooking show just to make light of the situation, and really in a discreet way, showing people how not busy we were. Because I would start these shows at like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. when it'd be like prime eating time for us. Yeah. And there wouldn't be a customer at the window, inside the restaurant. And I'm full-fledged having a conversation with with the audience. And people were looking forward to us doing it every night between 6 and 7 o'clock. And it got later and later as people knew that we were still open and we were still there. And they knew that we had a takeout window. But the breaking point for me was when Dallas Morning News actually picked it up and said, hey, here's some alternatives for at-home cooking. People go to YouTube. Here's someone who's doing an adult cocktail and then something easy for the kids. It was like, 5-10 ingredients or less. And I would cook it real time and talk about what was going on. So it was really great to follow my gut, do what I love, and entertain folks, even though I couldn't do it in person.
That's really incredible. I know we discussed how we kind of hate the word pivot because it's so overused. But
yes.
But it really sounds like you took the situation, literally shelter in place, and then turned around and created this entire new side to the business. That's really incredible, I think, that creativity.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's awesome. What we've seen, and part of the reason we wanted to do this episode is that a lot of the people in the service industry, you guys have been the most creative ones throughout this entire process. And it's really awesome to see you be able to take something you're passionate about and then use it in a different way that really helped a lot of people a lot of your customers that were also having to shelter in place.
Thanks, Austin. Yeah. What happened was once I did the TV piece of it, or the Facebook Live piece of it, and then got into Dallas Morning News, I was able to capture some catering business. And then from there, we decided we wanted to help some healthcare heroes as well. And so we found a nonprofit that reached out to us and said, hey, how can we feed the hospitals? How can we feed some of our doctors and nurses? And so we started doing about, 500 to 1,000 meals a week.
Wow.
When it all first started for Parkland and for probably 7 area hospitals. And to this day, I still continue to cook breakfast and lunch for one of the COVID testing centers in Dallas. Ellis Davis is the largest one here. And so this is my break in between breakfast and lunch. So I get up at 4 a.m. in the morning, do breakfast, come back home, do some paperwork, and go back and help with the lunch piece of it. But that's what seriously, these are the things I would have said no to in the past. Like, we don't do breakfast. And now I'm like, okay, what do we need to do in order to make this happen? And it's really hard to work on the business at this moment. I'm really working in the business to make sure that we survive this, because a lot of restaurants are going to fall out as a result of loss in revenues and won't ever be able to make up this ground, because it is a hustle. As much as that word's being overused, it's trying to figure out what are businesses that are still here and still viable? How can we still feed their staff, right? We reach out to car dealerships and do catering for them. Different companies, waste management companies, all those things. Like, what can we do? Because business at the restaurant itself is not going to be sustainable.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of brings me to my next question is, none of us know when this is going to come back to normal, and that's a term. We keep talking about words that are overused, but what do you plan on, aside from the catering and everything, what do you foresee as far as the actual restaurant itself once you get to really fully reopen the doors?
Well, what I'm thankful for is a couple things. We do meal kits at Red Stix where people have prepackaged stuff they can make at home. So, listing all the ingredients out. I've also done some virtual cooking classes for different organizations where they can't meet in person, but they still want to bond. So I just did one for 50 people across the country, starting out with drinks and cocktails and going through the whole meal, an Asian cuisine kind of thing. And so looking at that aspect of it and saying, hey, how can I do this locally, not just for organizations, but also for the restaurant guests and patrons themselves, right? And then the last thing I'll say is with Governor Abbott saying that we can do our own mixed beverages to go, that's helped immensely, because originally it had to be in its original sealed container. And then the last 60 days or so, we're able to mix our own cocktails and package those. And so I've been doing some really fun drinks and pouches, kind of like the adult Capri Sun version of it.
Oh, I love
updating
this.
That. Yeah.
Nostalgic. Okay.
Adding some popping boba in there. Why not?
Oh, yum. Yes, please. I really need to get one of these.
Please. I would love you guys to come in.
And we're there like so often.
At least once a week.
At least. I'd be there more if I didn't feel guilty about my credit card. Awesome. Well, okay.
Fried rice.
That's the order. It's us. You do. I love that. I love that so much. So let's go back though, because I think this is so creative of you to create the adult Capri Sun with an Asian cuisine spin on it. So take us through the process of how you kind of nailed down this concept, and it seems like it's doing really well.
It's been doing really well because, with the thing with alcohol sales is that there's very little prep involved with it, right? You can pre-batch some of these things, and I make more of a profit for every alcohol sales and actual food sales, although we only do about 15-20% in alcohol sales. And when COVID happened, we were only doing 5%. And so I'm up to about 15 now, give or take, but I'm doing a lot of drink specials. We have some rosé bottles that we got at a really great cost. And so we're doing rosé all day specials too. But how I nailed down on that was I wanted to find something distinctive, knowing that we're across the campus and school's going to start back up on August 24th for these college students. What is something that they can get there that they can, put in their fridge and drink later if they wanted to. And I know with law students, it's really stressful.
Yes, and that is true.
Make something delicious and affordable at the same time and get them a little buzz. Then you've got a great formula for success.
I mean, that sounds like a winning product right there. Shoot, I'm not even in law school anymore, but I'm still coming over to grab one of those. Oh my gosh, awesome. So, moving forward, right, it seems that you've been able to creatively reinvent the entire Red Stix brand and the services that are being offered. So what are some lessons, not to be cheesy, that you think you have been able to learn from Red Stix and maybe dispense as pieces of wisdom to other restaurant owners who may still be struggling and have not created this imaginative reinvention of their business?
I think that they just have to get their mindset into what I can instead of what I can't do. I know that I started turning off the news. I mean, I think we were all addicted and we were all like going towards what is happening today because there's so much that's unknown. What I'll say is it's up to us to invent our future, right? I mean, the present is just that. It's the present. It's a gift. And so what perspective do you choose to see? And I think that knowing that some restaurants will fall out, which is so sad because this is my family that's in the hospitality business, right? It's really going forward and thinking about what else can you do? You have to put your ego aside. Like I said earlier, like I'm saying yes to a lot more things. I used to say, no, I don't do that. No, I don't do that. And now I'm like, how can I say more yeses? Just because right now people remember that we were able to accommodate some of these things because I have time and I can't work on a lot of projects that I had in the past. I mean, we were getting ready to build out a location in Farmers Branch and that's on hold. So that time that I would have used to build out that restaurant, I now have it to invest in this restaurant. And how I see it is that I get to make this better. I get to prepare Farmers Branch for if there's a future pandemic or there's an evolution to what COVID-19 is, right? There's something that's going to happen. Like it really taught me the lesson that I can't take any of this for granted. I think that people thought that bars and restaurants would be pandemic proof or be, economy proof. It's not. Nobody is immune from this, right? We're all impacted globally. So how do you reach beyond what you think is possible? I mean, I think about, I'm having a Skype call with you guys from my phone right now. If you had asked my 10-year-old self if this was possible, I said, no, that's not. There's no cord attached to this, right? Anything in this world is possible. So we've got to think towards the future.
Absolutely. And that, gosh, what a valuable lesson too. And not just for the restaurant industry. I mean, I think that goes for pretty much everyone, even lawyers at this point.
Yeah, no, I love your attitude, Chef Uno. It's a great, it's a very contagious attitude that I think is really awesome, especially like you said, with the family that you guys have. Because I've always heard that and noticed that the hospitality industry, it really is, you guys take care of one another. And so it's sad to see some of them are going by the wayside, but it's awesome to see y'all succeeding the way you have.
And absolutely thriving, it sounds like.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Austin, do you have any parting questions or?
All I would say is to our listeners, go check out Red Stix. Chef Uno, is there anything else that our listeners need to know about that you guys have coming up? New concepts, new specials, new things on the menu?
Well, everything is special at Red Stix, by the way.
Yes, this is true.
Great answer.
We're located on Hillcrest University, right across from the SMU Law School. We're open 6 days a week. Sorry, we're closed on Sundays, like Chick-fil-A. So don't come see us on Sunday, but any other time, please come and hang out at the bar, drink. And if you can't afford to eat, come by. I will take care of you. I mean, we don't turn anybody away. So anyway, awesome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being on here, Chef Uno. This was fabulous. And, I'll be there this Friday.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Chef Uno.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you guys.
All right, we're back with part 2 of our spotlight on Dallas bars and restaurants. And we're featuring now one of my favorite bars in Dallas, one that I'm at probably far too often. But we've got Gabe Sanchez here, the owner and head bartender at the Black Swan Saloon, and wanted to talk to him a little bit about the saloon and then also talk about some of the challenges that he's faced going through quarantine. So, Gabe, thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Austin.
Definitely. So, Black Swan Saloon, it's a really small bar in Deep Ellum. There's no sign out front except the open sign and the door guy. So, Gabe, tell us a little bit about the history of the saloon.
Okay, cool. So I opened in 2010, 10 years ago. Basically, I almost got to my 10th anniversary. The anniversary is on April Fool's Day of all days to open a bar. So with COVID and all the fun stuff that happened this year, we shut down about 2 weeks before that happened. But anyways, back then there was nothing going on down there. Trees had just been open for about a year and almost a year. So I opened there, and I knew, with it being a blank slate, that I could do something different. But I have to kind of follow in somebody else's foot tracks, so to speak. So, I wanted to do something fun with the drinks, and at that time, I was the only one there. So I was there Monday through Sunday. I was putting in 85, 90 hours a week.
Jeez.
Like Saturday, all season I would get there. Friday night I would work normal, 5 to 3:30, 4 in the morning. Get back there at 10 in the morning for college football. Stay till 4 in the morning. Get back Sunday morning at around 10:30 for NFL all the way through. So it's been an interesting kind of ride with that neighborhood scene that, what it had been, what a lot of us people our age have grown up seeing, in the 90s, early 2000s, and then having to go away, then kind of being part of it coming back.
So, and Gabe, that's one of the things I love about the saloon, and a lot of people don't know that, because back when I first started going, it was you were the owner, you were the guy behind the bar. Every drink that was made, it was coming from Gabe, and it was carefully crafted, and there's just something. We keep using this word hustle this morning and talking about just some of the hard work that the people in the hospitality industry put in. But that, to me, that's one of the coolest things about the bar, is that it truly is your bar and it's your story with the saloon. And so I just think that's one of the best parts that about going to that bar, is that you get to see your personality behind it.
I appreciate that. Kind of a funny story. So when I got open, I was open for maybe 6 months. And you know what? I went to school in Las Vegas. I was there for a while. Worked in the casinos, all that fun stuff. So anyways, I went back and I saw one of my marketing professors that, I love this guy. Any class that he taught, I took, right? Mm-hmm. So I went there and I stopped in his office. Go, hey, I opened my first bar and I think it's going to do all right. And he's like, okay, well, tell me about it. Well, it's a D, maybe D minus. Okay, cool. He's like, well, how much money do you have to market it and advertise it and get it out there, at least in the public view? And I said, yeah, there's no money for advertising. He's okay, well, what about your staff? What are they doing to kind of integrate themselves in the neighborhood or in the industry itself? And I was like, oh yeah, there's no staff.
Just me.
Cool. It's like, well, what about how much signage do you have on the street? So people obviously know where you're at, since you don't want to try to pull them in a normal way. Oh yeah, there's no sign. Well, how much money do you have in reserve to kind of get you through some of these decisions that you decided to make? Oh yeah, there's no more money. All the money, it's in the bar. And he's like, oh, how many of my classes did you take again? No, I took every single one that you taught. Did you not learn language? Did you not learn a thing? Like, what were you doing all the time? Like, it was kind of hard-headed things at the beginning that I wanted to prove that, yeah, you could do, through force of will or whatever, hustle, whatever you want to call it, you could you could compete with the big boys or big girls, whatever you want to call it, and carve a niche out for yourself. So we've carved some kind of a weird niche over the past 10 years. It's been great. The bad thing is as soon as you kind of pull yourself out of that, things kind of get a little shaky sometimes. So, I've been lucky to have at least one other right-hand person that's been great, through that process. So.
And we were speaking about hustle, and clearly you have some very unorthodox advertising or lack thereof and operating methods. So how have you been able to take that creativity and that drive and turn things around and continue operating during the era of COVID?
Right. Well, the good thing about that is there's then kind of the counterweight is nobody to stop you from doing what you want to do. So it's kind of, a mad scientist type of thing where a lot of, the stuff that works, it's been just luck, and hoping that you read people correctly. In this industry, actually in any industry, I think is the better you're able to read, whether it's your core customer, or your core client, the better off you're going to be as far as making decisions to kind of be able to continue to interact with them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, Gabe, you guys have done some creative things during the COVID times, like some of the things you're selling. Kind of tell our audience a little bit about some of those specific things that y'all have been offering through the saloon to try and be creative during COVID.
Sure. So the first, what we did is we did a couple 5-6 years ago, I used to do Bloody Mary mixes for Thanksgiving Eve, and it went real well. And so I was like, well, I'll try to do that. And since right now I can't sell alcohol because I don't have a kitchen, so it's been kind of one of those. Well, how close can we get to what we do inside the bar without actually getting able to put alcohol in the package with it? So I made the Bloody Mary mixes, and what I did is I partnered up with a couple of restaurants, one in Oak Cliff, Salaryman. They do awesome Japanese food, and then Good Friend Burger over in East Dallas. So to kind of spread it out where people didn't have to always come down to Deep Ellum, at least, in March and April when things were really kind of unsure. And then from there, I did some of the syrups that incorporated some of the flavors that people are used to. So the people that go to the bar, they would know once I said some of these flavors, whether it was the peach or the apple or pecan with the bourbon, they're like, oh yeah, I know what that is. So I tried to make those things as close to done as I could possibly do without adding the alcohol. And then try to make a package as cool as I could in as small as a window budget as I could as well. The only bad thing about that was, once I got all these orders, which was awesome, I had to go make it. So I was like, oh god. So it was one of those where, the awesome thing is like the register was bing, 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 bing. Then I was like, oh, okay, well that'll take me 24 hours to make or 48 hours. It was a challenge, but the cool thing is like you can continue to do different things. You don't have to just do Jack and Coke or vodka soda or whatever industry. You don't have to just do the lowest common denominator. You can do something that's a little bit more creative and kind of keep yourself engaged that way, where you're not constantly worried about the elephant in the room all the time, where you're able to breathe and have some sense of normalcy about the whole process.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking earlier with our other guests. I mean, the creativity that a lot of people, a lot of y'all in the hospitality industry have shown has been really awesome. And I think, honestly, y'all have probably been the ones that have adjusted and really pivoted better than anybody else trying to deal with all these things. Gabe, obviously, I love the Saloon. I know a lot about it, but just kind of to wrap things up for our listeners, what do they need to know about the Saloon? What's the experience that you want to tell them that this is what you're going to get when you come to Black Swan?
Gotcha. So when you come in, it's funny, you always recognize somebody that's never been in there before, because when you walk up to the door, it's dark. You know, there if it's Friday night, Saturday night, there'll be a door guy out there. But most of the nights, all the other nights that we're open, there's nobody at the front door. It's just a door. So, 2708 is the address. It's on the side of the door. That's where I get my mail. So if the mailman can find it, walk in and sit down. And usually, if there's somebody that's been, they'll feel that kind of, lack of a better term, the unease of the new person. And every person that comes in on that bar, which I've been super lucky for, they will sit and they will talk to you. If you don't want to talk to them, they won't talk to you. They'll leave you alone. But they're part of. There's been an ownership of that place with people in Dallas or people that have come in general that they're happy when a new person's here. They're like, oh, it's like walking in to your buddy's house. Like, oh yeah, well, have him make you a sandwich or whatever. But when you go in there, just relax. It's like any other bar. If you want to try something fun and new and creative, we can do that. If you just want to drink Miller Lite, like they're the coldest Miller Lights on the block. I guarantee you that. So it's one of those things where I want you to feel comfortable. I don't care what you drink. I just want you to have a good time and be able to know that, there's some places when a door opens in a place, people will turn and look and see who's walking in the front door. And at Black Swan, that doesn't really happen because everybody that's in there knows that they probably really want to be there. Whoever's opening that door, unless I freak out, then you probably should freak out too. But, it's like that old saying, if I run, you probably should start running. But, it's a great place for a first date. It's a great place for anniversary. It's a great place if you want to watch a game. Like, it's chill. You can go out in the back and be out, in the 100-degree Texas weather if you want to be. If we can get back open, before it gets cold, who knows? But that's kind of what you're looking at.
Absolutely. Well, and like you said, it's definitely a great bar for regulars and locals. And I do agree. I mean, all the patrons take ownership of the concept, and it's really cool. And then you get to also see the huge Clint Eastwood picture hanging above the bar right there by that back mirror. So,
well, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gabe, thank you so much for being with us this morning. For all of our listeners, go check out the Black Swan Saloon. Check them out on Instagram at Black Swan Saloon. You can see all the things that they're doing creatively, all the packages that Gabe was just talking about that they're selling. And once they get open back up, go check it out. Go in and say hey to Gabe. And if you're not sure what you want to drink, tell him what you like, and he'll make you something creatively that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Thank you guys again for listening to us here on #Lawyer. Go find us on whatever platform it is that you listen to your podcasts. Go like the podcast, go follow and subscribe to us. Leave us a review, leave us a rating. That helps us to really get the word out and really continue to tell you guys about all the different things that are going on in law and business here in Dallas. Make sure you check out our videos on our YouTube channel. It's #Lawyered. And then also follow us on our Instagram account. It's at #Lawyered. DM us, send us some issues, some topics you'd like to discuss, or some things that maybe you just don't understand about the law, because we want to make sure and cover and give you what it is you want to listen to.
Well, in today's closing argument, we have a historic moment. Recently in Travis County, the first ever trial over Zoom, at least in Texas, began taking place. Now, the case was a small case, just a speeding ticket, but the entire thing was conducted over Zoom, and you had the potential jurors, when it came time for jury selection, logging in from computers, iPads, phones. You could even see a cat frolicking in the background. And so what does this mean going forward? Zoom trials? I mean, what does this mean in terms of jury selection? What does this mean in terms of witnesses testifying? How does it affect your rights when it comes to the confrontation clause? Only time will tell, and you can be sure that we'll be here to discuss it on #Lawyered. Thanks, y'all.